All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and I just want to do, I guess, kind of a quick preview for Saturday evening. Kind of a nice five-game slate, which can be handled pretty easily. So just wanted to go over what my thoughts are. Just had a little bit of time before I had to run out and do a couple of things. So I figured I would just hop on and, see if I can't give you a little bit of direction. I do have a couple of kind of off-the-board type ideas that I want to share, and some kind of straightforward ideas I want to share. So I am going to do this DraftKings first, and then maybe just on the same video, just go over some FanDuel. But from a game-by-game perspective, it does seem sort of straightforward. So let's go through this. So in the um, Detroit game, I do really like Brandon Knight here. I mean, he's probably going to be somewhat popular, but I don't think exceedingly so. Now, he is showing as a questionable tag today, but I think his minutes are you can't dispute are really, really strong. I mean, he's got 25, 25, 25, and then he started at a full 38 minutes. I mean, if he's going to start again, I mean, it's kind of tough to not play him at 4,800 if you want to know the truth. He's very active. He's relishing his um, you know, rebirth, I guess, in the NBA. And nonetheless, for all those reasons, his projections look good. He doesn't look to be all that popular, and I think he's a very, very strong play here. So especially on DraftKings, I do like him quite a bit. The other guy on DraftKings I might consider is Christian Wood, but I don't consider him a priority. But he certainly is a decent play. The power forward center position is kind of the lock that I have to kind of address, and the center position as well. I do like some plays better than Christian Wood, so he's not going to really make my build, I don't believe, on DraftKings. But he certainly looks like a pretty strong enough one-off. I don't really like anybody else on the Detroit side. So in the spirit of, as someone messaged us, hashtag trimming the fat, we're just going to just continue. The Utah side are actually four things I kind of like here. It's not in this build, but I'm going to have to try to get some of them. And especially if I'm going to play Brandon Knight, I think it is smart to kind of run it back. So I will identify nothing particularly fancy, but Mike Conley looks like a pretty good play at 4,900. As does Rudy Gobert at the center position, but I think I'm going to go elsewhere at center, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Donovan Mitchell, again, looks fine at 7,600. I think he's a good play. But again, the guy I'm going to keep playing is Jordan Clarkson. He really does make the most of his minutes, and he's just very active, and he's a typical GPP type play, which I'm going to play every slate where he's reasonable. And yeah, he's not projecting to be a tremendous play, but he's projecting well enough that I'm going to go for some upside here. So I think Jordan Clarkson's a really, really strong play. I'm certainly going to rearrange this to get him into some of these lineups. Nobody else really. I don't really like Bojan on FanDuel. So Denver, Cleveland. Yeah, there's blowout risk, but Denver's proven that. Haven't proven, but they're certainly not doing the greatest job of blowing teams out when they otherwise could. So I'm discounting that for at least the time being. So another good center play, Jokic at 9,400 looks to be extremely strong. Alongside, there's another great center we're going to get to later. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas, it's no need to make you wait, is a strong play also. So between Jokic and Valanciunas, I think you can't go wrong with either of them. They're both going to garner a decent amount of ownership. So what I would do is try to find maybe Valanciunas lineups with Atlanta guys in them if you can. And Jokic, if you can find Cleveland guys, that's great, but it's going to be difficult. So I do like him. I like Murray. I like Barton. Your standard Denver plays. I don't know what the hell that is. We're going to find out what that is in a second. Oh, okay. And then on for some reason. So that's really funny. So that's really it on Denver, and I do like all that stuff. What is interesting to me is the Cleveland side a little bit, because the plays that people are going to probably play is probably Matthew Dellavedova, 3,100 is a lot of value. And if he's going to get, 30, 32 minutes again, I mean, with Porter and I'm presuming Porter and Garland out for now. I mean, you're going to have to look at this as you get a little bit later. Porter out, that's fine. And is Garland, I presume, still out. So Dellavedova is going to start getting all these minutes. It's going to be difficult to fade him. Not difficult to fade him, but he's going to be a strong play at 3,100. Then you're going to have Osman again. He's going to look okay. Sexton's going to look okay. But here's, and Kevin Love's fine, I suppose, but especially for a run back. But here's kind of like my mad scientist play. I'm going to take a shot at Andre Drummond here. He's if he, in fact he plays. He is 8,400, which looks kind of ridiculous considering the minutes he's being projected for. But I'm going to continue to believe that this minutes projection is kind of a joke. I really believe that, and we went over this during a previous review, that what was I going to say? That those games where he was playing 25 minutes have extenuating circumstances behind them. And just to kind of review, there was, I forget which game it was, but there were two of these games, they were getting blown out, and they allowed the second unit to come in and just kind of make a run, and they kind of benched the whole first unit as a result. So after 24 minutes, first run he got, after that, he played a full 36 minutes, full starters minutes, and I just don't find it – I find it difficult to believe they just don't do it again. So I just feel as though this minutes projection is ridiculous, and you're going to get him at infinitesimal ownership, I think, considering how good Valanciunas is a play, and considering how good maybe even Gobert is a play, and Jokic. No one's going to play him. And, he always has that 60, 70-point upside. And look, Jokic is certainly not any let's just say, isn't any great defensive beast. Okay, so I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it on a short slate, and yeah. I'm gonna pause for just a second. Sorry about that. I said a lot of things going on, but I did want to get at least something out there to you guys. So for me, the easiest game for me to play here is this next game. Is Atlanta and Memphis. You have guys that project really strongly on both sides, and it's a well, I shouldn't say that, but it's a high total game, all kinds of upside everywhere. So to me, it's kind of the obvious game to go after. And so let's be obvious. Trae Young, presuming he plays, I mean, he rested last night due to an illness. If he doesn't play again, then it's back to the Jeff Teagues and Brandon Goodwins and all that other stuff from last night. But I'm presuming that Trae Young plays. If he does in fact play, I think he's incredibly strong, especially getting the day off. Memphis plays really fast, and I think he can come up with a really, really strong game. And Memphis, the run backs to me are trivial. You have Jonas Valanciunas, as I mentioned before, as a tremendous value at the center position. And as far as correlation goes, it works, this whole Memphis stack, because you can play the point guard, Ja Morant, along with a shooter, which is Dylan Brooks, so you can get that, those assists there. And Valanciunas is probably not going to get in the way of any of this. So you have these three guys, Morant, Valanciunas, and Brooks, and on a short slate, I have no problem running all three of them the same lineup and running them back with Trae. And again, when I looked at as far as ownership goes, I mean, yeah, you're going to get ownership here, but it seems to be spread out decently enough such that, I'm comfortable with 25% of all this stuff. I think it's just a perfect DFS GPP type play, just to run the big ceiling guy with Trae, with the three run backs from Memphis, all of whom have upside, all, you know what I mean, and correlate decently. I'm kind of into this. I think this is kind of easy. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to win, but I definitely think it's an easy way to play. And I really don't like anybody else on the side. I'm not a Kyle Anderson guy in GPPs. I mean, certainly at 4,100, you can make the case as a good point per dollar play. You can make the case that the Anthony Melton at 4,400 is a good point per dollar play. But for what I'm trying to accomplish here, they're not going to make my GPP builds. All right. So Philadelphia against Golden State. I mean, I'll just cut right to it. Al Horford's kind of a lock. No Embiid, no Simmons, no Josh Richardson, no nothing. You know, he's just tough for me to not play. So he's 6,600, and for me, he's just much more of a priority than Tobias Harris on DraftKings. Harris is fine also. I want to say, I mean, Harris is certainly a good play, but I don't find him any better than some of the other guys we've mentioned already. You know, so I'm not prioritizing him. But Horford, even though he's going to be 50% owned, I'm going to find it difficult to not play him. So for me, he's just kind of just a placeholder. I just put him in pretty much every lineup. Golden State side's kind of a mess. I mean, they got the main guys who are going to play, who kind of look reasonable, are going to be the guys you don't like to play, like Andrew Wiggins. He's fine. I mean, Andrew Wiggins you could play here, and Marquise Chris at 5,900. He's going to be a pretty decent play. And then there's a lot of mess. I mean, you're going to see a lot of Michael Mulder love at 3,700. The idea that maybe he plays a full 30, 32 minutes or something, and I don't know. I'm sure he's fine. I don't know if I need him. I do have him in a couple of these lineups just because I need 3,400. I'm not going to go out of my way to play Michael Mulder, though. I will say that. And Andrew Wiggins, I guess, is fine. Damian Lee is fine. Juan Toscano Anderson. I mean, these guys are all okay, but nothing major for me. I just don't think I need to get to these guys today. I just don't. I mean, it's not like there's these huge studs that I feel like I have to pay up for, that I need to spend the 3,400. Like you'll see in the Portland game, you'll have Lillard. If you really need one to get up to Lillard and also play Trey, then yeah, you're gonna have to do stuff like that. But aside from that, I just don't think it's necessary to go down to these guys today. That's just me. Sacramento, Portland. Yeah, I guess we should do a little of this. I guess we should run at least one lineup of Fox running it back with Lillard, and one with Fox running it back with Whiteside. Now the thing is, Lillard has disappointed in the last several games actually. If you look at his game log, I mean, he hasn't really done anything. But you know what he's capable of. So ceiling guy like that, he certainly is not projecting to be that great a play at 9,600. Actually, he's not bad now that I'm looking at it. I mean, I think from a points per dollar perspective, which is not exactly fair, he's certainly similar to Trey. Just feel as though the Trey runbacks are just so much easier. But Lillard's fine. I have no problem with Lillard. So I would certainly run a Lillard little mini stack with someone like De'Aaron Fox or Harrison Barnes or somebody like that. So who else on Sacramento, though? Maybe Bogdanovich, Hield. These are typical upside type guys you can play. So if you want to run Lillard with Hield and Bogdanovich, Lillard with Fox, something like that, you could do that. On DraftKings, I don't think I'm going to get to anybody else from Portland. I am going to probably be playing some Carmelo on FanDuel, which we'll get to. But Whiteside. So Whiteside, he's just another really, really good-looking center today. So you have Valanciunas, you have Whiteside, you have, who else did I say? Gobert, you have Jokic. Maybe it's just a terrible slate for me to try to do that Andre Drummond thing now that I think about it. But I'm going to do it anyway, just on principle. But there are some really, really good center plays. As a matter of fact, I mean, I can make the case that you should really be trying to play two centers on these DraftKings builds because I mean, these are all all really strong. Like just to review, like Whiteside, Jokic, uh, who else did I say? Um, Valanciunas, Gobert, even, you know. So very, very strong. And considering you're going to have Horford, I think, take up your power forward spot, that these power forward slash centers, uh, you can't play all of them. No, that you could play. You could also play forward in the regular. You could play Horford in the regular forward spot too. So you could get these guys in if you wanted to. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it for DraftKings. Let me just pause for just a second. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to pause. I'm just going to go straight into FanDuel here, because I kind of built some stuff out of FanDuel, and let me just take a quick look. A quick review of what I'm doing here over at FanDuel. I think that at several positions you could go a lot of ways, and I think at some positions you're kind of restricted. Not restricted, but price enforced, whatever you want to say. There's some values that you really can't get away from, I think, on FanDuel. So I'm just going to go through them, and I don't like to do this too often, as far as saying what the good plays are and just saying, okay, great. But I think it's important today because it really affects the way I built, and there's some slates where you can kind of play this way. So I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to start at center, where I really think that Valanciunas is just a huge standout. Whereas on DraftKings, you can make the case for a bunch of different centers. I think that on FanDuel, I think that 7,100 on Jonas really makes him stand out. So he's someone I'm going to prioritize. In other words, I'm going to put him in every one of my lineups. Like I have 9 entries, so maybe 11 lineups or something. And I'm going to put him in every single one of them. And I'm also going to do that with a couple of other positions, because I just think FanDuel fell asleep on a couple of these. So as the same as DraftKings, I think Horford is just someone you should just plug in. And when I say that, I'm not saying, okay, this is, again, how do I put this? I'm trying to teach something about plays, but also about builds. So sometimes when you have slates where you have 4 standouts, what you can do is, well, you'll see. I'm going to put 4 or 5 guys in like every lineup, and then kind of shuffle the rest, hopefully identifying the lower owned pieces of those other positions. So like you have Valanciunas and then Horford as another guy who I think you should plug in. And in addition to that, again, just the way the price is kind of worked out here, I also think that that Christian Wood is just the second best play. You can make the case for Collins maybe a little bit, or even Kevin Love maybe, but I'd love to just take these stands on some of these guys. So you have Valanciunas, you have Wood, and you have Horford. None of these guys are going to be particularly unpopular. That's the problem. But we'll see if we can't figure it out. Going back to small forward, we have a similar situation. I think that where DraftKings I can get away from Tobias Harris, I don't think I can do it on FanDuel. I mean, he's still at 7,300 with all these guys out. So I think that, again, if you see these builds, I mean, I have Harris going kind of like throughout. Now, the good thing is that after that, the small forward position is kind of, gives you a lot of options. So what we're going to do is we're going to get back to those and see how I can kind of flip around and see if I can make this into a GPP type thing. But before I do that, unfortunately, I have to identify another position where I find kind of a standout, and that is Dylan Brooks at 4,800. He's just way too cheap over here. The projection systems just are swamping him. And yeah, I don't like to be a slave to projections, but when something is that big of a standout, and he's an upside type guy also. I mean, these are tough plays to fade for me, so what do we got? What are we doing here? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 guys locked into these lineups so far out of a total of 9, right? I only have 2 point guard positions and 1 small forward and, 1 shooting guard, 1 small forward. So, but the cool thing is what I'm going to do is I make kind of like a list of like the point guards I like, and I'll just kind of go over them. Um, this is who I have in here, but Jamal Murray looks like a good play. Damian Lillard looks like a good play. De'Aaron Fox looks like a good play. Trae Young certainly looks like a good play. Okay. Um, Morant looks pretty good. And the thing is, all these guys to me are kind of bunched. Conley, Brandon Knight, like all these guys look very similar to me with respect to value and stuff. So what I did was I broke the tie in a very aggressive fashion. And as I picked the two guys that are going to be in the same game correlating with the rest of this stuff. So you see I already have a Dylan Brooks and a Valanciunas from Memphis. So what I did was I selected these 2 point guards. I selected Trae and Morant. And you'll see, by the way, this is very similar to what I did in DraftKings, where I had the 3 guys from Memphis running it back with Atlanta. Here, even going position by position, trying to err on the side of, not being too chalky, I ended up getting a similar type of build. So with all those other point guards, they're all fine, like Jamal Murray, Lillard, Fox. I mean, I guess when you could go Lillard and Fox in the same lineup, and that is something that I might do also in one of these. Like if I want to change this, it's like Lillard and Fox. I think that's a good idea because that you get the correlation, and you can still get you still have Brooks and Valanciunas in the same lineup, but you give up your Trae run back. And as far as shooting guards go, after Dylan Brooks, there's like a whole bunch of them. So there's Donovan Mitchell, who looks good. Damian Lee, who looks okay. You're going to see some Jordan McRae love. I'm just not going to do it quite yet, I don't think. I mean, he's a guy, but Bruce Brown, C.J. McCollum are all right. But I'm going to go right back to Herter in some of these lineups. So like Herter is a good way to continue this Memphis stack here, right? So he might be a guy I play. Clarkson, he's a guy I mentioned in DraftKings before, that while he's not going to, what's good about him is he correlates decently with Christian Wood, which would be another good argument for playing Donovan Mitchell to run back with Christian Wood. Right? Bogdan Bogdanovic is, kind of an upside type guy that I would just kind of throw in here. He doesn't correlate as well with these others because that doesn't have any Portland guys. Alec Burks I put in. All right. Again, he's not projected to be all that great, but again, he's an upside type guy. I have no problem putting in these upside type guys to fill in these spots. Buddy Hield, another guy I thought was okay. He looked great. But again, if you want to just get a little unchalky, this is a good kind of upside guy you can play. And Gary Harris looked all right also. Not great, but not terrible. So he's another guy. Again, that's the thing what you have to do. You have to do, if you're going to have these 4 or 5 kind of obvious plays, you are going to have to differentiate yourself elsewhere. Maybe the Harris might be the weakest of all of these ancillary plays. And then heading back to small forward, again, you see it's kind of a shuffle I have going here. Like I have some Carmelo Anthony, not highly owned. All right, he looks pretty good. Cam Reddish going right back to him, even with what's his name back, with Trae Young back, decent play. Harrison Barnes, not that exciting, but he's going to be low owned. Joe Ingles is really, really cheap. He hasn't done anything in a long time, but again, when you're going to play this way and take stands on a couple of these guys who are not going to be that off the board, you're going to have to shuffle a little bit. And then when you shuffle, your first goal should be finding, high upside, low owned correlative plays. But if you can't get all of it, you got to take some of it. You got to take a high upside, low owned guy, or a high upside correlative play, or a low owned correlative play. So that's the way I'm attacking this slate. And it's not every slate that you can do this. It's not every slate I like to do this. I like to kind of shuffle around all my positions a little bit. But here I'm just, when you forget what I like, if you ever come across a slate where you have incredible confidence in several plays, what you can do is something like this. Just make a big, really hardcore core and then assess it. In other words, what kind of core is this? Is it high owned? Is it low owned? What do I have to do to de-chalkify it if in fact it is too chalky. And I think this is a pretty decent attempt to do that. And we will see the results. And I might end up, this is still about 3 hours, 4 hours before game time, so I'm going to have to check my phone and see what's going on with respect to late changes and things like that. But I do think that there are I think it's a nice little 5-game slate that has upside that you can get a handle on. And hopefully this is a video that helps you do that. Have a good Saturday. Who knows? Maybe I'll pop on tomorrow. If not, have a good weekend, and I will catch up to you later.